This is live television. It's awesome.
I think we're good to start. By the time Joe gets here.
Okay, let's go. Okay. Okay, so as I said, thank you for coming out. This is the New England Sitecore User Group, and thanks to Velir for hosting us. This is a Sitecore Symposium recap panel, so we're going to discuss our experiences there, and then we have a special event. We have a Sitecore Experience Editor speed run between Chris, actually, no, it's Daniel, Sitecore 8.2 delay, and Chris, Sitecore 9 Sullum. So we've heard discussion about performance improvements with the Experience Editor, so we're going to put those to the test. And then after the speed run, we're going to go to questions. So if you have any questions about what you've heard or what happened at Symposium, you'll have a chance to ask those. So without any further ado, let's get started. So hi, panel.
Hello.
Hi. So just to kick things off, why don't we just go around, introduce yourselves, where you work, what you do, and what was particularly memorable at the Symposium experience, like what you think you'll be thinking about a couple years from now.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Craig Cublin. I'm a producer here at Velir. Probably one of the more memorable kind of moments or sessions that I sat in on was from the marketing track, learning a lot about the Sitecore Business Optimization Strategy board game that Sitecore has been working on, which is a really cool, I guess, game. You can consider it where you can work with your clients to help basically identify business rules, have conversations, and ultimately drill down to some different tactics and strategies that you can take to help optimize their strategies based on a lot of their KPIs and user goals.
Thanks, Craig.
You're welcome.
I'm Daniel DeLay. I'm VP of Development here at Velir and MVP since 2012. And what really stood out to me, I really appreciated the Sitecore JavaScript services, Sitecore JSS. And if you're not familiar with this, it's a technology that's still in technology preview mode. And it allows you to make a truly headless version of Sitecore. And as I was learning about this, I was like, there's no way this is possible because you have the Experience Editor, and Sitecore is so focused around that, where your content authors are going to be constructing your pages using Experience Editor and setting up personalization and using that to do testing. How do you do a headless environment? Well, I saw some seminars and I see how they're doing it. They have client services now that can bring over all of those layout details, and you can so you really can do that now. And that's what I look forward to checking out more.
Hi, I'm Diane O'Connell. I'm a technical director here at Velir. Been developing a Sitecore for about 8 or 9 years, since Sitecore 5.3, I think. And most memorable had to be the party with that lighting system that came down like a UFO out of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. That was amazing. But I mean, technologically, the keynotes really were memorable to me, and how much they were talking about machine learning and as really becoming like, they called it a marketer's assistant. And some of the forward-thinking ideas that they had about that were interesting.
Thank you. I'm Ed Schwem, Dev Manager here at Velir. Been working in Sitecore for 7 years, taught by Diane when I first arrived how to use Sitecore. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Seemed to work out pretty well. What I really liked at Sitecore Symposium, besides what everything these guys said, was the new forms. Really excited to actually use that, and it's like, looks like it's going to be way better than web forms for marketers. Figure we're going to be using that for a long time, and looking forward to what Hilke and Peter can come up with that. So,
thanks, Ed. My name is Mark Stiles. I'm a principal web developer here at Velir. For me, the most memorable thing was Cortex. So, if you know me, you know that I'm into the machine learning aspect. So what they did was they've begun to take. So they have some machine learning in the system right now with some of the content testing and the matching personas to users, but it's not really a full-fledged project yet. So Cortex is what they're determining to become that project. to start focusing on how more machine learning can be used throughout the system. So that for me was the most memorable because obviously I was there presenting on it.
Corey Caplet, Velir CTO. I've Sitecore MVP, I think, since 2011 or so. I think as long as Rick, probably, around the same time. So for me, the looking forward keynote, so this is a lot like last session, last day. You know, probably half the people were on flights home at that time, but they unveiled some really, really interesting stuff. And their new content editor, or let's call their new experience, it wasn't really the content editor, it was the new version of what managing experience is going to be like in Sitecore. And it was codenamed, there was Horizon and Zenith. I'm not sure which one was which, but let's call it Zenith Horizon. And I mean, for me, that was just really, it was great to see. I think anyone that's been working in the platform for a long time, even though it's gone through a couple refreshes, it's still, you know, the same old Sitecore for the most part, a bit faster, a bit more optimized, more features. And this is the first time I've seen like a complete rethink from a UX perspective. And the person also delivering it said a lot. They hired a new UX director. I think he came from the agency space. And I think so being in the agency space and seeing someone who really takes the user experience and puts it, you know, at the primary, not just thinking about what the tool should do, was just really reassuring. So who knows, at like 9.1, it sounds like we'll start seeing the beginning of that, but that's not promised at all. But I'm definitely excited that, you know, to see that corner turn on a new UI.
So I'm Dan Murphy. I'm a BSA and manager in our business systems analysis group. I've been working with Sitecore for about 10 years now. This is my first symposium. First time in Vegas, too, and that's a weird place. Vegas is odd, right? Vegas, you only need to go once, I think. But it was really cool to be there. I mean, I feel like it was sort of like I had many prongs to my trip there. Right? One was like interfacing with our clients and schmoozing a little bit, finding new clients, and learning a lot about the new platform, and also had the privilege of being a speaker around authoring experience and operational efficiency, and that's sort of been my sort of pet project here for a while, and I was kind of encouraged to see some of that built into some of the talks that I was going to around, as you mentioned, Ed, Sitecore Forms. That's been a big problem for some of our clients, just the usability of it. There seems to be a rethink there, but also around just SXA. I think the writing is on the wall for implementers like ours that we should be spending a little bit less time just building the same old components over and over again and spending more time on controlling the actual experience, personalization. How does this tie together with all these other channels? And so, I think if they build upon that with commerce and make that really easy to use and cheap, inexpensive to use, I think they can spend a little bit of time, less time doing that and more time doing, some of the fun stuff.
Hello, Chris Sulham. I'm a technical director here at Velir, also Sitecore MVP. Most memorable part of the symposium. So they kept the MVPs there for an entire week in Vegas, and that is not healthy. I don't know if you've ever... Yeah, so there's a lot of memorable things that I probably shouldn't talk about. You know what they say about what happens in Vegas. Is on TV. Definitely not. No, all right, seriously. XConnect, which no one has mentioned yet, that's the big thing. All the stuff they're talking about, you can't use it yet. XConnect, you can. You get Sitecore 9, it's there, you can use it. I saw a really cool demo of what this thing's capable of. And what it is it's a service layer that sits between XDB and really anything else you want to have connect to XDB. So the demo they showed, they had a bike rental company in Copenhagen, I think, and people renting a bike, they would have an app they would use to rent the bike and sort of get it out of the lockup. So the app would know when they picked up the bike had, and this is a real thing, they have bikes with GPSs that connect to public Wi-Fis and push data up to servers whenever they can. So the bike would push data up to these servers and sort of track your movements. And all this data, like how much you weighed, your pedal speed, like how often you would brake and things like that, it would figure out where you were stopping. It would know if you were going down urban streets or rural paths and stuff like that. And all this data, they would push it into XDB. And then they were able to create sort of trip summaries for the users on the website. You could see where you went and what your average speed was and how many calories you burned, and who knows if this was all real, but as a proof of concept, it was pretty cool. And then they were able to say, well, this person kept stopping at this one bar. Now we know that they're into whatever is going on at this bar. We can market to them based on that. So really cool. Dan doesn't like that. He just grumbled like, oh boy. I thought it was interesting, and I think I'm excited to use it.
Hi, I'm Jill Grzalski. I am a marketing strategist at Genuine. I think the only non-Velir person on this panel, but MVP nominations are due in a couple weeks. So really trying to pad that. So I think there are a couple memorable things about Symposium. I think XConnect is great, to your point. It's usable now. I think the marketing automation functionality, just the ease of use that they're introducing is great. For me, though, I think the new case studies that they were presenting were really fantastic. We've all really read enough about Danone Nutricia and Dollywood, and to see some other clients really using this functionality makes it more tangible for our clients. So we can say, yes, people are doing it. There is a way to get started, because as great as new functionality is, if you don't know how to begin, the challenges still remain. So I think it was really great to see that there are more and more clients that are successfully executing within Sitecore and also proving outcomes and showing ROI. So I thought that was really great.
Thank you. That was.
Are we going all the way back down? Is it? Okay.
Yeah, I think we're just going to keep. Yeah, well, probably for the stream. Yeah. So digging a little bit more into that, and particularly focusing on what is coming out now in the short term, what should Sitecore developers and Sitecore users be focusing on in the next year? Where should they be digging in? What should their focus be?
Sure. Well, I'm not a developer, so
Okay.
I can't
Or
speak specifically
or
for that.
user,
But certainly with the demo of Horizon showing a lot of cool new features about kind of what's coming with Sitecore in terms of authoring experience and using real-time data and analytics based off of user traffic on specific pages. We're certainly getting to the point where we're going to be getting a lot of user data and information for each page and each component that users are interacting with. So certainly, kind of one of the main themes that I saw with conjunction with all this new data and information that you could be getting about users is trying to start really small. Like, obviously we know all of our clients want a fully personalized experience. They want all the cool bells and whistles. But it's really hard to achieve that end goal, and getting them focused on some micro conversions, some really high level initial goals to get them started so that they can see some throughput or data or analytics on maybe one or two personalization rules that they can put in to see if that's working, and see if they can slowly build on top of one another so that in the future, they can fully utilize the whole suite of tools.
Thanks, Craig. I think you summed up my point that I wanted to get to really well. So, just to add on to that, we're seeing this come up quite a bit. Our clients want to move into personalization and content marketing and really take this crawl, walk, run approach. And so, I'd say that's where you want to be focusing on, because now the tools for Sitecore are really becoming mature, and they're becoming competitive with, peers in the market. The other thing I think to focus on as an agency or a developer for the coming year is Sitecore 9. Sitecore 9's out now, just released 9.0, and there's a new upgrade tool. So we've been studying methodologies to upgrade from 6 to 7 and 7 to 8, and now we have a new tool to upgrade to Sitecore 9. So we need to get some experience with this tool and understand, does this really accelerate the upgrade process, and what's the value proposition for our clients?
I would say a couple things I have in mind are the data exchange framework. They seem to really be it's becoming like something they're building a bunch of connectors on. They've built a connector for Microsoft Dynamics 360, and they've built a connector for Salesforce, and they're really encouraging the development community to build their integrations on this framework. And it sounds like a great idea, because then if you have a common framework, it makes it easier to go in and customize those connectors if you need to.
One thing that I think is going to be big is, besides forms that I already mentioned, one of the first sessions I went to was on just the general improvements in Sitecore 9. And I think they went through and said like 300 something bugs in the experience editor alone that they cleared, like 180 priority bugs, which just tells you how much work there needed to be done. But the content editor, I mean, the experience editor is just going to be so much smoother now. It's going to be great, and I think we're just going to. A lot of people who might have been frustrated with it, I know I've been frustrated at times, but I'm just a developer. They're going to go back in the experience editor and be wowed by it a bit, and just another chance to use it and be awesome with it. So.
How can I talk about machine learning again? Well, so one of the things I think, to be able to use machine learning, you need data. So I think one of the biggest things you can focus on is getting XDB set up, understanding what all the things that you need to know to get it working, how the data's in there, what data you're capturing, and making sure that you have enough to effectively get something from it. Again, you're going to want to be able to use DXF, get that content in there. Content is data too. We can analyze that. Traffic data from XDB, pulled all together. One of the things that I think excited me the most was that they're going to be able to do automatic segmentation. So right now you got to go in and you got to create personas and kind of like hope that you have a good idea of who you're marketing to. But what this is going to be able to do is start to analyze your traffic patterns and start to tell you who the different segments of people are. And that is going to be huge. Huge.
Are they grouping that by like a taxonomy? I mean, how do they tell you this group of users? Is it just based on the pages they consume? Sorry, learning.
Yeah, so it's going to follow patterns. If there is a lot of people going through certain channels, this page, that page, this page, they're going to start to identify certain content. And
they name it for you, like this is group.
It's going to probably go. Yeah, they didn't go that far with it, but they're going to. It's probably going to be generic, and then you can rename it.
Okay.
They were showing content types as one of the, this content type is performing well with this group we identified.
Right. I missed a couple. Thank you.
So it's hard to focus on one thing. Always have a hard time focusing on one thing. So for me, there's sort of a story of two platforms that emerged. And I think this is interesting because Sitecore has grown from a mid-market solution to an enterprise solution over the time we've been working with it. And I think at the enterprise, if you're working on enterprise solutions, it's really about the integration, using things like XConnect, XDF to bring data into the system. And I think that's a really kind of explicit move by them. They realize that not everyone's going to run Sitecore for everything, and I think they're responding to that feedback and opening up the system so that you can bring in your best-of-breed tools for whatever you're using them for, and then bring that data into Sitecore. So if you're working on those large solutions, I think that's the thing to focus on. And if it's a more of a mid-sized company or small enterprise, I think it's trying to get as much out of the full platform as you can. Use the whole cloud, the whole suite, because it's really starting to come together. They've rewritten a lot of the key tools, with the forms, with marketing automation, and so I think for those clients, just trying to get the most and use it across the board.
Yeah, I had a similar impression as well, just around XConnect. I was kind of happy to see that there was some more formalized hooks to be able to get that data in and out. We've had some clients who've tried to bring in like HubSpot data into Sitecore. It felt a little black boxy trying to like work with that and make that work and sit alongside and bring that kind of like data transparency across systems. Like I think that's, if anything I was taking away, it was just like connecting the data dots, making sure that users can see analytics as they're building something, making sure that I can see my marketing data if it happens to be in another platform while I'm using Sitecore, that it wasn't like a mutually exclusive thing. I have to use this tool or that tool. I feel like now there's a lot more options on the table for our clients to use Sitecore in a way that's compatible with what they've already been using. Right? It's not an impediment, I think.
So I'm probably going to look at things more from the developer side, because there's a lot of interesting things going on. I think one of the big changes at Sitecore the past year is that they have new leadership now. So the old leadership's out, the new leadership's coming in with their visions. One of the things that they said that they're focusing on is quality. And I think you mentioned, Ed, that they fixed like 300 bugs or something. Well, why were there 300 bugs in the first place, right? Why are they relying on us MVPs and for their customers to find these bugs and report them before they fix them? So they're trying to be more proactive about that. I've been messing with Sitecore 9 for about 2 months now, off and on. We got sort of a technical preview back in August. It's pretty solid, not a lot of major problems. I think one of the big changes that you're going to have to keep a lookout for as a developer is the the new way that you install Sitecore. They have a thing called the Sitecore install framework, which is probably really intimidating the first time you look at it. It's all driven from PowerShell, powered by JSON files. But quite frankly, we were trying to build something like that internally, right, Mark? Yeah, so we were kind of, I think you can run SIF through gulp as well, but we were setting up a thing with gulp tasks that were executing PowerShell scripts and using JSON files essentially as manifests. That's exactly what SIF is, and I'm sure a bunch of other partners are doing that too. So I think they're really sort of taking all the good ideas from the partners and stealing, learning from them. Which is good, because now we don't have to maintain that tool anymore if SIF is all it's cracked up to be. But beyond that, there's obviously the XConnect system. That's a new wrinkle to your Sitecore install. You don't just extract the zip file anymore and point IIS at it. There's more to it. There's more databases. There's more connection strings. Like, what do all these things do? Like, they're gonna, as a developer, you have to know this stuff, because you're gonna be dependent upon to really sort of understand it and keep this system stable and, just really understand what's going on. So that's going to be a challenge.
I can't sit next to you because you keep stealing all my answers. I literally wrote bug fixes on my hand so I didn't forget. I think
I stole it from her. I saw it in her hand.
It's true. I think to Craig's point, I think it's really being prepared to collect user data. I think sort of regardless of Sitecore version, that's important. Now with Sitecore 9 and XConnect and being able to better integrate CRM and Xfile and things like that, you have to be ready for it, because that's going to allow clients to jumpstart with things like personalization and segmentation, marketing automation, buzzword, things like that. But I also think, for us as, well, I'm not a developer, but for us using Sitecore, we have to be ready for bug fixes. I respect that you've been working with it for 2 months, and you think it's pretty clean. I hope that's true, but it's, we always have to brace for the worst, and it's
so not getting your MVP.
I know. It's not a knock on Sitecore. That's what makes us, MVPs and good at what we do, is we have to find workarounds, and that's just the nature of the beast, and it allows us to share information to get the product to be the best that it can be. But you're always going to have a client that comes with some weird ask, and you're going to try and do it, and you're going to be like, well, that didn't work the way I thought it would, and sharing it with the community and things like this is really important. But be prepared for that, because with things like Commerce and XConnect and Cortex and Zenith Horizon, everything, there's a lot going on in the platform, and it's up to us to really implement it and get it in real life and figure out what's working, what needs a workaround, what needs to be fixed, and things like that. So, MVP, please.
Actually, why don't we mix it up, and we'll take the microphone back this time.
I'm not ready for this question.
Oh, it's an easy one. So it's a big event. The symposium had close to 3,000 people.
Yes.
Which is, I believe, a significant tick up from the year before.
Mm-hmm.
And then for those of us, the number of us are MVPs, we went to the MVP Summit, so that's an additional couple of days. You have MVPs from around the world.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't ride race cars this time, but
golf.
Anyway, golf.
Fine.
But what was really, what can you talk about that experience? How that experience impacted you? How does that affect the way that you, what does that mean for you being a Sitecore person, having that kind of experience?
I think, it's great to see the exposure. I know the past 2 years, Sitecore Symposium is when they've really combined it, because they used to do one over in Europe, and I think, to be fair, a lot of the case studies in Europe were the first ones, and they were really leveraging it. Now the pressure's on for us in North America to be able to do that and really execute. So I think it's great to see the way that people around the world are using it if they're technologically advanced. I think it's also interesting to hear about privacy laws and things like that, because personalization is based on collecting user data. And in other countries, there are different rules and regulations about that, and we have a lot of clients that are global. So how do you start to think about that, and global sites and multi-site installations and things like that? So I think it's great to just get that exposure to other clients around the world. I know the Atlantis in Dubai was a great case study that I saw at Symposium, and they're doing phenomenal work in the way that they're promoting to a global audience and really taking data from things like Instagram and whatnot and marketing efforts around the world, and how they're marketing differently using Sitecore features So that was a long-winded answer, but I think that was really exciting just because there's so much more that's going on, you know, beyond this user group and beyond North America that's exciting to see.
So I'm not sure I understood your question, Dan. What was exciting about the large crowd? The global presence?
So let me try and rephrase it.
Please.
Basically, the human dimension of the experience
Yeah.
of being at this event, being with your colleagues from around the world, being at the MVP Summit. We talked about what you learned from a technical point of view.
Yep.
What did you learn from kind of the more of a community point of view?
Okay. Well, going to such a big event, seeing it getting bigger and bigger every year, it makes you feel really good about job security. Because, you start to think, like, how long is this Sitecore train going to keep cruising along? And, like, how long can I hold on? At least another year. So that's good. Don't have to learn SharePoint. That's always exciting. I want to say, but seriously, but that is a serious answer. It's no, but it's like you said, it's really good to talk to, I think, in the MVP community. Like, I see people there from other agencies I worked on, or I worked with on projects that sort of span different agencies. On the really big implementations, they kind of they pull in like a lot of different groups. So, seeing those people again, just sort of seeing what they're up to, going around the different booths at the partner pavilion and sort of seeing what's cooking in the world of Sitecore is pretty interesting. Like, you have people come up and I couldn't get a booth, but I'm here just sort of like handing out my card and trying to meet people. And that's interesting too. You find some really cool stuff, and you meet some really interesting characters as well who are just, sort of pushing something you probably don't want to invest in. But, overall, I think if you have the opportunity to go, definitely check it out.
So one of the things that I thought was really surprising is that when you don't go to, you've never been to a symposium before, you think that everybody going there has this all figured out. They know everything to know about Sitecore, but really I just realized that everybody just, has various levels of understanding, and we can have just as much of an impact on that product as anyone. You realize that everybody's still fumbling towards like the best thing. And we're in a prime position, I think, as an agency to kind of push the envelope, try new things with it, fail a little bit, and get a little bit better.
General event, just attending a symposium, you read all these press releases about what they're doing with the product and leadership changes that are going on. And for me, there was a real palpable sense of energy and excitement from the new executive team over at Sitecore. It's interesting because it was a Danish company, and now I think all the C-level positions are located in North America as of this year. And three of them have been appointed, I think, in the last year. And so from the outside, you might think, what's going on? Is it going to stick? Are they, are these the right people? And there was just a great level of excitement. I think the energy they were bringing, you can see it in the product and the roadmap. So yeah, I think that's a really nice thing about being there.
Just to chime in on that, in terms of the MVP community, if you're a woman in the room or a woman on this live stream, I would highly encourage you to apply for MVP as well. There are 10 of us, I think, out of 250 plus MVPs. So it's nice to also be building that community as well. So definitely push through it because it's worth it. It's a really great honor to have. So
Women are welcome.
yes, true.
Check that, Mike.
Which one? This one or that?
It's on. Maybe.
You're not kidding?
No.
Should we just pass it?
It's coming to the phone, so it's fine, but that might
I'll speak up. So I think the symposium is like, for me, I mean, I'm kind of an opportunist. Obviously got the cameras every time I can bring them anywhere I do. So meeting people is probably the foremost thing for me. Like the talks and stuff are great, but I probably keep up more with the people because there's a lot of things that aren't in the product that you can learn about while you're there by meeting those people. Cam Figge built this serialization engine called Unicorn. That's not part of the product. A lot of us use it. And it's incredibly useful if you know it exists. And just having a side conversation with them or have the ability to is an incredible opportunity. Being able to sit down with just people from all over the world that you would never otherwise see. Or in my case, just people I think that are funny on Twitter. Having those conversations though, that opens up so many other doors. Because there's so many times where you've been like, man, I don't know how to solve this problem. Like, what do I do? And you find, somebody that does know it. And when you contact and you reach out to them, you're like, man, I hope they respond. But they do. And the more you get to know them, the more you have this dialogue and you know where to find things. And problems become easier. So having this outlet where you can go and meet all these people all for like 1 week is just incredible. And I really want to kind of throw a shout out to ShowCon. So for those of you who don't know, ShowCon and Symposium are completely different events. Symposium is like a rock concert, and ShowCon is like a festival. It's like the user group driven. It's like the user group here. It's driven by the community. But when you go there, so Symposium is feels more commercial, right? It's really polished. It's a lot of like, flair and, rockets and stuff. When you go to the ShowCon though, what you see is a lot of people who submit talks that aren't necessarily, they're not like glowing reviews of like this product. It's like, hey, this is a really nasty problem that we found and we solved. And you get to have real good conversations with people who are in the weeds and things. So going to ShowCon anytime you can is also a really great opportunity to learn about deep issues in the product or solve things or just, again, meet more people from elsewhere in the world. So I'd encourage you to go to either or both if you can, because they're both really just great places to meet the people in this community.
We may as well still pass the mic.
Yeah, I don't know, it's like a baton.
All right.
The conch.
But like you said, I think everybody's basically been saying around this, orbiting around the same thing of people. It's all about people. I work in support, so I have a lot of clients that I've worked with over a long time. One of my first clients at Velir, I've been working with for like 5 years, and I never met any of them. I've talked to them on phone a million times, And last year's was my first symposium, and it was such an amazing moment when I was just talking to, I think I was talking to you, Chris, or somebody, I don't know. And then one of the guys one of the clients just walked up. He's like, "Hey, Ed, nice to meet you." I'm like, "Holy, it's you, finally!" And it was so cool. And I met more people from that client this year, which was really awesome. And then also just with respect to people talking about, I've never been to ShowCon or whatever, but after the JSS talk, I went up to ask a question. I got to ask Adam Weber just like, so do we even need to learn C# anymore? Can we do this all in JavaScript now? And just, it was mostly joking, but his answer, he didn't really give an answer, he just kind of laughed. But it's just kind of cool that you can go and ask questions like that, people always asking little questions like that, the people, actual people, so.
Yeah, similarly, I enjoyed meeting some clients that I hadn't met before and sharing stories of Sitecore and stories that had nothing to do with Sitecore. That relationship building was kind of exciting to me. So like when their projects may be running behind and maybe things aren't going so well, you can say, hey, remember when we jumped in the ball pit together at the Sitecore Symposium, right?
Again with the party, huh?
Yeah, we're buddies, right?
I still have those pictures.
We're buddies, right? We can talk frankly. So the relationship building I thought was good because then they're just not a faceless voice on the other end of the phone. And again, you do get to, like Ed mentioned, talk to them about what their problems are too, so you have more insight into the problems with Sitecore, but not just the problems, but what they are excited about with Sitecore and get to see their vision for their site and running on Sitecore.
Thanks, Diane. Anybody remember Dreamcore? If you remember Dreamcore, these were like the first regional conferences that Sitecore would host. The first couple were here in Boston. And I think the first one had roughly maybe 300 people. The next one had around 450, 500 people. They were much smaller. It was really only implementers and partners. You know, the majority of the people there were developers. And so it had a much different flavor back then, is where I'm going. And this year, nearly 3,000 people almost felt in the minority. There were lots and lots of clients, you know, end users of Sitecore, people who were content authors, who were business users, who were marketers. It's a much different flavor. And so before, I'd be really fired up about, you know, the technical seminars. Oh, I'm going to learn some new coding tricks in Sitecore. And this was really the first year that I took a look at the seminars in the business track and said, oh, that one actually looks good. I might want to go to that. And then there was the marketing track. That one looks really good too. And so I just wanted to call out the Sitecore Symposium has been growing, and the flavor has been changing so that it sort of equally supports developers, clients, marketers, and the business. So I really appreciate that. The other thing that's important for me is, you know, you can probably all relate to this. You know, we work with Sitecore year-round. You know, it's Sitecore every day, working on this project, solving those problems. And sometimes, you know, you need to recharge your Sitecore battery. And so when I go to Symposium, I come home full of the Sitecore Kool-Aid. It's just...
These are all stuff we got in the bag when we go to the...
not just the swag. It's like I am recharged on Sitecore, and I am energized, and my head is buzzing with all kinds of things I want to go try out. JSS, Cortex, Horizon, you know, all of these cool things. And so, you know, I'm just buzzing and exciting, and I think we need the opportunity to recharge our Sitecore batteries once a year.
Thank you, Daniel.
Always sounded a little coldish.
Yeah. For me, this was my first time at the symposium, so certainly kind of networking, meeting a lot of new people, seeing some old faces was really great. But I think the most impactful thing for me was getting a much deeper understanding of where Sitecore is intending to go. You know, hearing directly from their leadership, seeing a lot of demos on some new products, but also seeing some cool new innovations that other, you know, organizations have worked on. Like, for example, there was a session where a company has found a way to basically create a plugin or integrate Sitecore to create an AR or VR experience. And we know that's something that is certainly kind of new and a flashy, you know, word that a lot of people are throwing around, but certainly could be a lot of use cases that we're utilizing Sitecore for in the next handful of years. So getting a better understanding and a deeper understanding of, you know, where we are now, where is Sitecore headed, but also get an understanding so that I can bring it back to my projects and start talking with my clients about here's some cool new things on the horizon, or here's some cool new things that are coming down in the next couple of years that we should, you know, start planning for, thinking about, or, you know, keep in the back of our minds if we think it is a valuable use case that we can utilize.
Great. Thank you all very much. We are now we will be coming to questions, but we're going to now move to our speed run event. So if Sitecore 8.2 could take the 8.2 cube pod, and Sitecore 9 take the 9 pod, and I will split the screens. And we're going to need audience volunteers. If anyone has a stopwatch app, we need someone to record the Sitecore 8.2 time and someone to record the Sitecore 9 time. So let's see. I saw Ben, your hand went up, and Nicole. Great.
Be on the audio. Let's see what we can do.
because I need to get sorted out.
Dan, are you going to give us an on your marks, get set, go?
Yes, I will. I'm getting my screens organized, and I'll give you guys a cue. I'm not sure. Can you see what's on your screen?
Yeah, drag it to that side. So it'll be on my side.
Oh,
It'll be on your right. It'll be on.
and that's on. Oh, good. That would have gone totally over my head. Okay. Should I probably walk people through what we're going to see?
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So just so you guys know how we were putting. So to set a little context, Sitecore has announced performance improvements with the Experience Editor with Sitecore 9 because they've done things like they've refactored code, they've improved bundling, they've used sprites and so forth to basically make the Experience Editor a somewhat faster experience. So we're going to put that to the test, see if we can get some metrics around it. And in order to do that, we're going to run through the same set of operations. So just to describe that, our testers are going to go to the content editor. They're going to go open the Experience Editor. They're going to then insert a page using the sample item. They're going to name it products and click OK. And then under that, they're going to insert a page called television. Then they're going to rename it to TVs. And then under TVs, they're going to create a page called Apple TV. They're going to delete the sample rendering component from that page. They're going to save it, they're going to preview it, they're going to go back to edit. And then they're going to add a sample rendering component. They're going to change the title field to Apple TV. They're going to change the text field to, you really want to buy this. They're going to save it and preview it and go back to edit. And then they're going to select personalize on a new component. They're going to enable personalization on the component. They're going to add a new rule called hide. And then they're going to set a comparison where the item name compares to Apple TV. Click OK, save preview. And then finally, they're going to select a content placeholder. And they're going to add an image. And they're going to set up a data source for it, set the image to Apple TV, set the caption to a beautiful TV, set float to right in the custom experience editor, and hit preview. So how do we know when we're done and we stop timing? You jump out of the booth and say time. Awesome. Okay. So is everyone, the screens are up. We have, what's that? Should we on the same, why don't you both get on the desktop? Yep. Look how fast that was. That was awesome. Which one? I meant Launchpad, but desktop is fine. Let's get on the same thing. So, Daniel is on. Is Daniel in there? You're on the desktop. Desktop. Yes. No. Everyone's got to be for the Launchpad. It's easy. Yeah, let's go to launch. Yeah, that's what I meant. Launchpad. Launchpad. Perfect. Thank you. That's what I meant. Okay, are my timers ready? I think I'm going to snap my fingers. Okay. Are my testers ready? 3, 2, 1. Create content. Oh, I should probably be narrating this, shouldn't I? I remember I was asked to do that. I'm now. Do you have a Howard Cosell voice? I do have a Howard Cosell. It requires a certain amount of prep. So help me out, guys. I'm going to pair program this. Which side do we have? We have. So I'm already disoriented. We have which on this side? What's that? A2 is over. So on I am doing. Howard Cosell would know that. So yes, on your left we have Sitecore. I'm not even going to pretend. I see TVs. I really should have practiced this. Apple TV. As Daniel was describing the concept, he was saying you'll be saying that they're already doing this and this person's still doing that, but I have absolutely no idea where anybody is in this. So I'll just. There you go. Would you like to take exactly? I can't do that because I'm worried about being wrong. So we have Apple TV. And the steps aren't numbered. See, now if I could do this all over again, I'd say put numbers on. Then you could say, I'm on step 5.
Sitecore 9's already on the rules.
Okay, there we go. Thank you, Ed. Sitecore 9 is already, I'm going to pretend I said that. Sitecore 9 is already on the rules.
Can you believe the speed?
He's selecting a rule. Is equal to? How much will Sitecore 8 drink after this?
Are we going to have a doping test afterwards?
Okay. So I now see Sitecore 8.2 is now starting to edit rules. Interface looks a little bit different. Yeah, timers, where are we at now? How long has it been? 2:20. 2:20, okay. Okay. I see an image is getting selected. Okay, well, that looks like an Apple TV. Okay, he's typing, you know you want to buy it. Okay, so we're still about halfway through the program here. I see, so Sitecore 8.2 is a little behind selecting the image.
You know, we'd be a lot further along if we had the cognitive services.
Time. Wow.
Yeah. Listen.
Okay.
We said experience editor improvements, not workflow improvements.
So how long was, so you were Sitecore 9? Yes, again, and so your time was done. Okay, so we can do our comparison. So Sitecore 9 took how long? 2 minutes, 10 seconds. 3 minutes and 10 seconds for Sitecore 9. And for Sitecore 8.2, it took 3:33. That is a 23-second improvement. You people watching at home on your channels, you can do the math and you can tweet it out. And the first person that tweets out the hashtag Sitecore 9 speedrun can feel a moment of satisfaction. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Okay, that was awesome. Okay, if my panelists could take their seats back, and if we have a microphone for the audience. So do we have someone working the mic? Yep. Okay. Should I give people a short break before the questions, or are we good? I think we're clear to the end. I just want to.
I guess someone wants us to next.
He was using hotkeys. You want to slide down?
No, Mark is doing double duty. So how are we going to work to? What's that? Okay. Okay.
We were just that good. Everybody knows everything.
Just a minute more.
You all know everything about Sitecore 9 now?
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah. Why don't we start with questions up here, and then we can go to the audience. What's your question, Jill?
So you guys didn't talk too much about Sitecore Commerce, and I'm wondering if anybody wanted to chime in about that.
Dan, would you like to take that question?
Yeah, I'm very excited. So I went to. Wow, it's interesting. That wasn't on my list. Yes, I'm very excited with what they're doing. I went to, I think, all of the commerce tracks, so I kind of feel like I missed everything else that was going on, but about to kick off my first commerce implementation, so I was really trying to find out what's going on. I think the big thing that I saw there was that they're realizing their vision of they took in this technology of commerce server, which they purchased, and it gave them a technical team and a kind of a starting point. But it was written on very old technology. I think they said it had a legacy of 18 years. There's 18-year-old code that they were running, and I've tried to get that. I remember trying to change a connection string with it, and I finally figured out the connection string was hidden in the registry, and it was kind of like, the phone calls are coming from within the house. So it was, somewhat hard, and so this was like with Commerce 9, it's fully in .NET Core, so it's gone from very old technology to very new technology. And it's written in a very, very Sitecore-esque way. It's extremely extensible. It stores data in a NoSQL way so that you can extend any piece, and everything is written as a plugin, so that just the orders piece is a plugin, the inventory piece is a plugin. So when you want to write a plugin, you're following the same steps that the commerce team follows, and so there's a real commitment to really sound architecture. And then I think, and I can't really discuss what was discussed, but I was able to attend at the MVP Summit a brainstorming session where people that are using the product and are implementing solutions were talking with the technical team, and just a spirit of openness and curiosity as the people that are building this were sitting there taking down notes, hearing about this feature or that feature, and what the priorities would be. That's the kind of thing you don't get from reading a doc or a PDF or watching a video like this one, is seeing the people that actually write the code just hungry and eager for feedback about where they need to take it next. You're welcome. Any other questions from the, are we ready for questions from the audience?
Yep.
Okay, who would like to kick this off? Yes, please go ahead. Do I personally support XSL or just Sitecore? So first,
I believe it does.
Yeah.
We saw it in there today.
If you look right up there, that layout. Is this the broken mic?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it works
Yeah.
now?
Good.
Half those renderings are XSL out of the box, so it still works.
Can you
Yeah.
translate that for a strategy?
Sure.
Yeah, it's
What is that?
XSL
Yeah,
is
what
a
is that?
thing
What
that
is
you
it?
should never use, but sometimes you get stuck with it.
Perfect.
Yep.
I'm in.
No, just earlier, there was a comment about, do I ever have to write C# again?
Yeah.
I remember my first experience with Sitecore back in the 5.3 version a while back, 10 years ago. I went through a period of time before you knew that XSL had the performance issues or caching issues and that sort of stuff. I went a month into development and not having written one line of C# at that point in time, because that was the first Sitecore application I built, and you could do a lot of things in XSL that you didn't have to necessarily use C#. So
That's what they trained you in.
Yeah.
Is there
Yeah.
anything, if I could just expand on that, is there anything that did, so that did not come out of the platform. Did anything notable come out of the platform?
Well, it's worth noting, MongoDB is not part of the 9.0 release. I believe it's 9.0 update 1 or 9.1 update 1, where MongoDB support will be re-added back to Sitecore 9. So that's important to know if you're migrating to it and you happen to have a Mongo server that you might want to wait.
Could we? So the question was, did leucine come out of the product? And, yep. Does that mean leucine's not? What's that? Go ahead.
No, I don't know the answer. I didn't see it.
Okay, yes.
No, it's it wasn't in the technical preview, but it's in the initial release, leucine.
If you're,
Solar is out of the box, but leucine is until like 9.1.
They're deprecating it, basically.
Yeah, well, it's still there. You can still use it, but Solar is the. Is anyone from Coveo in the room? Solar is, I think, the default provider now. and they made it a lot easier, I think, to switch the providers too. Again, it's not if you remember, setting up solar before, you turn on the provider, and if you had like one small mistake, it would just be like, sorry, the error message was like, we can't load Sitecore. And you're like, whoa, wow, I wonder why. And turns out it's because you misnamed a core in solar, or you're missing a field in your schema or something. It doesn't tell you any of that. So the error messaging got a lot better there, but solar is, I think, the recommended provider now for Sitecore 9.
If you read the Sitecore 9 installation documentation, they flat out tell you that unless you're just running a CM server, you need solar. So
yeah,
like that's how they're messaging it, which I think is really ironic because solar is technically Lucene.
It's a shared Lucene. It's
yeah.
removed from the system enough, because otherwise you have it on every single thing, and it's all. But it's Lucene.
No, but the difference is you need infrastructure to support solar. I guess that's the big difference from like a implementation point of view. You need another server.
So I have a question. Would it be fair to say that solar is to Lucene what XConnect is to XDB?
No.
Okay.
SAT style.
Try. Why not? What's the difference between them?
XConnect is like.
Right? Here. No, I'm just saying words.
XConnect is like a service layer. Solar is the whole application.
Okay.
It comes with a lot more than just. If we're going to talk about solar versus Lucene, solar's more than just centralized search. You get with it the capability to scale, for one. If you are approaching any sort of significant amount of traffic, your search is going to break down because it's going to be throttling your file system. Your server, your resources are going to spike. So you got to centralize that into search. Solar. Solar has a whole caching layer baked in. It has an extensible querying layers, filters, and tokenization and stuff like that. You can control support for multilingual beyond just literal matching of terms. It actually accounts for language. Which is super important. If you ever tried to do search in a foreign language in Lucene, the results are garbage. They're a lot better with solar.
Lucene's the engine, I think, and then solar's a bunch of value-added services on top of it, and it makes it enterprise essentially. But it's still at its core, it has little Lucene chugging along and powering it.
If you look at all the assemblies under the hood in solar, it's all Lucene, this and that, and then there's a bunch of solar stuff too.
Yeah.
It does under your breath thing about Coveo. I really feel like Coveo has normally walked away from Symposium with their chin held high, and this one they really had to be muttering under their French breath.
Well, I think Coveo, for their product direction, that they're not competing on indexing anymore. They're saying we're not, our competitive advantage is not the fact that we have a better index. So they've had all the machine learning pieces on top, and the personalization, the analytics. So I think they're trying to go up the stack a little bit and saying that stuff's all commodity. You can get it anywhere. We're better than that. But so that's the.
Go ahead.
So what Coveo offers really is search intelligence, I think. Whereas solar is going to give you. People have an expectation when it comes to search now because they've been spoiled by the Googles and Amazons of the world. So what we hear from customers all the time is well, Amazon does this and Google does that. Why doesn't our search do that? And you want to say it's because they have more money than most countries in the world to invest in search. If you have that kind of budget, maybe we can help you out. But in reality, that's what customers expect. Not just our clients, but the people actually using the internet. That's what they expect from search nowadays. And Lucene isn't going to cut it anymore. So solar kind of gives you that baseline where at least you're getting relevant search results and faceting and things like that. But what Coveo is going to give you is real search intelligence and analytics on top of it, so that you can do a lot more and tune it without having to get developers on the horn, for example. You can look at trends in your searches, and you can see that we've surfaced our search algorithm says that this is the top result for this query people put in all the time, but really everyone's clicking the third link. Maybe that one's actually more relevant. Coveo gives you that. Solar doesn't.
Yeah, Diane and I went to the Coveo booth. Yeah, so Diane and I went to the Coveo booth and asked them flat out that question. Like, why would I ever use Coveo over Solar?
Love that question.
No, they were well prepared for it. Yeah, they were so well ready for it. And they said basically just about everything you said. So, do you work for Coveo or?
No,
Yeah.
but I've had the conversation before with them.
Yeah, and it's true because all this they showed us a demo of all the different analytics and the stuff like right in Coveo. You know, all that stuff that you could build with Solar and Sitecore, but you'd have to build it.
Yeah.
And they're just like, okay, you don't have to build it anymore. Here it is.
So quick.
Also the ability to search many different document types, I think like 40 different document types.
Sure, and federated search so you can get results from multiple sources.
They've also woven it into personalization. So you can personalize and segment, and it'll show the results depending on who you are, what you've been clicking on.
Tonight's panel sponsored by
Yeah, exactly.
You got to know that
I
product.
expect they'll all be getting. Yeah, Jose, please go ahead.
Just a point on that, like, when I first sat in on like Coveo demos, again, like 10 years ago, they advertised more as like enterprise search. So their demos was less about what was in Sitecore, but more about what they could consume in other sort of, repos, I guess, file repos, or, they almost were like less for about a public website, more about like if you were building an intranet for like a law firm and you had to scour documents and index them and all that. Coveo was kind of advertising for that. Now they're obviously, advertising, and when they're talking about Sitecore about, web, they have that flexibility.
And they still have all the other stuff too, though. All the other, they didn't get rid of that. They showed us the comparison chart where all the new stuff, plus you can still connect to everything in the planet.
So just want to take the conversation back to Sitecore 9 for a moment. Just a quick question for the audience. Who here has taken a look at Sitecore 9? Downloaded it? Couple. No, you have, Rick, because you're there with me. So what are the features, and this is not just for people who've looked at Sitecore 9, what are the features, and maybe we'll just do show of hands, that seem particularly interesting for you? So one question. Are you interested in the new forms module? Hands up. Okay, 1, 2. The new DEF. What is?
Oh, sorry.
Data exchange.
Yeah, so that's an interesting point. It's not DXF. So I attended a session with, so just to clarify that point, because this is a very important point, Adam Kahn wrote DXF, and he said if you're going to take, excuse me, sorry Adam, wrote DEF, and he says if you take one thing out of this session, and it was a long session, I think it was half a day, was one of the pre-sessions, it's not DXF. X only means experience. It's DEF. Calling it DXF. Great question. Now I step back.
Yeah, the idea is that you can offload much of the work to the client side. So front-end developers are now building all of your components. So it's great for single-page apps, but great for everything else as well, because now you have complete physical separation between Sitecore and Experience Editor and the content editor, and the web pages and the presentation. So you can run it on a Node server with Angular or React is the intent. So you can really have a different skill set producing the visual and design elements of the website.
That's a good time for one last. Oh,
go. No, go.
Good. One last question. Okay.
When do you think is the good time for us interested in start development Sitecore as a front end to start looking at that? It seems now we cannot do anything, but we can start.
Well, it's in technical preview right now. The resources that are available to you, there's a GitHub site where you can download the services and the modules that you need to run this. There's a client service and some other tools. And they also have several examples, beginning with a basic example to a mid-level example to some much more complex examples. So the preview of the tools are out there, as well as the documentation and the examples, so you can learn it.
How many folks in the room have a Sitecore Slack account? Okay. There is a Genesis channel. And Nick Wesselman and Alan Scheibe are all over it all the time. So there's a website too. I think it's just jassist.sitecore.net.
Yep.
And that gives you everything that Dan just said, and lots and lots of walkthroughs. So how many people are agency based? All right. Versus who's client?
Yeah, I think that goes with that too.
How many of you separate the front end and back end coders? Really? How many of you full stack? Okay, some of you are lying. I didn't count, some of you are lying. The website, yeah, thanks. The JSS Sitecore website is designed with front-end developers in mind. So if you don't speak front-end, you don't know what bower and gulp and burp and fart are, you're going to have problems. Yeah, some of those are real, some of them are not. You guess. You're going to have trouble reading it. I did as a .NET developer because it's really alien stuff. But I handed it off to our front-end team, and they're like, "Oh, wow, look, they use this and that, and React is good, but then they use this Redux thing." And I'm like, "All right, good, whatever makes you happy." Say again? No, we don't talk about that. We can't talk about that. Speak 3 we can talk about. Speak 3 we can talk about, which is based on Angular. Yeah, we could talk about that one. Yeah, so it's really interesting tech. Who here among the MVPs that do DevOps is like terrified of what JSS is going to do in the future? You're lucky. Yeah. So the interesting thing is, if you turn your feds loose and you realize that your feds invent a new framework every 2 months, what is that going to do when you inherit a website that is Sitecore based, that has been worked on by 8 different fed teams over the course of 2 years? Whoa. I'm going to talk about this in January. I'm going to have a whole different show on it. So I'm advertising. I'm sorry.
A hand for our panel, please. Oh, are we done? We have one more? Oh, sorry.
We're done.
Oh, I think, are we? I guess I'm supposed to decide, aren't I?
Yeah.
Hand for our panel. Thank you.